Development is one of the phenomena that exists within the rapid advancements of today's technology. These developments are included in the everyday dosage of internet consumed by the average person. One of the main areas that is significantly affected by the internet is the way people make transactions, business, and trading in new and competitive environments. With the internet, human activities in buying and selling transactions have now developed with the use of electronic media. This medium of business is referred to as e-commerce, in which in particular is also known as online shopping. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, thank you to Mr. Speaker, Mrs. Adjudicator, punctual timekeeper, fierce opponents, and last but not least, the welcoming listeners here today. Standing here today, I will be delivering a lecture upon the given topic, fiqh of online shopping. However, before we carry on, I insist that I shall define our topic today by words and phrases so that we can get a clear perspective of the title. Fiqh is the theory of philosophy of Islamic law based on the teachings of the Quran and the traditions of the prophets. Meanwhile, the phrase online shopping refers to the action or activity of buying goods or services over the internet. We can easily say that our title today is about the theory of Islamic law regarding the action of buying goods over the internet. My fellow audience, so we go on to ask the question, what is the status of online shopping in the view of Islam? Well, Islam is a stylized and easygoing religion and surely flexible towards the modern allegations of today's technology. Allah does not prohibit His servants to carry out on activities on earth as long as they are in accordance with the needs of Islamic principles and is permitted by law itself. Most importantly, it does not contribute any form of destruction or damage onto this world, as contained in Surah Al-Jumu'ah, which reads, "When the prayer is concluded, disperse within the land and seek the bounty of Allah, and remember Allah often, and you may succeed." Conceptually, online shopping is completely permissible as long as it does not conflict or violates the Islamic law. Online shopping favors many benefits towards both buyers and sellers themselves. For example, the mobility and less time consumption, plus the ability to access crazy offers and promotions, and thus giving a smoother experience overall. Even so, there are still many Muslims who doubt the idea of bargaining through their fingertips. Researchers emphasize that many consumers distance themselves from e-commerce due to concerns related to trust that may negatively affect the risk of their online purchases. Therefore, we need to acknowledge these rights that will be obtained by the consumer and producers equally. The rights referred to here are the rights of privacy, consumer data protection, security rights in transactions, the right to know product details, the right to get payments when the product is sent, and much more. The importance of these rights are reflected in the first verse of Surah Al-Mutaffifin, which reads, "Woe to those who give less than due." This highlights that there is no fraud intended in terms of trading services so that all parties get their rights accordingly. Also described in Surah An-Nisa, verse 29, that explains us as Muslims should not consume one another's wealth unjustly, but only in lawful means by mutual consent. Islam has arranged a sale and purchase transaction, which the arrangement included in fiqh al-mu'amalat. Honesty, sincerity, and trust must exist in an Islamic business. It is not appropriate to include any form of fraud in the process of a commerce. Cases that often happen would be when advertising images in reality are inaccurate. And because many people shop online, they highly depend on the presented image, thus persuading the poor vulnerable customer. This psychological effect tricks them into buying the said item while blinded by sweet offers and deals engaged by the producer. This action illegitimately promotes fraud. Hence, it is best to avoid this behavior as much as possible to maintain a transaction based on the Islamic guidelines. One more thing, to ensure a safe deal to commerce is struck, there should be no elements of usury, gharar, which is uncertainty, deception, and risk, any haram payout, and any form of gambling. Fellow listeners, It is important to know that engaging in a contract agreed by both consumer and producer is also vital in Islam. According to Sharia, all contracting parties, whether in traditional trading or in e-commerce, must mutually consent to the said contract. All transactions must be based on the free willingness of the parties involved and must be those who are legitimately allowed to engage into these business transactions. A contract of sale occurs when two or more parties mutually agree to bind themselves with the term and conditions stipulated in the contract. This becomes a parallel line that we can trace and sought guidance from in means of these such transactions. On top of that all, the subject matter is also considered as one of the important elements in online transactions. Sharia guidelines highlight the several conditions to be adhered pertaining to the subject matter of sale contract, namely that the subject of matter must exist, can be delivered to the buyer, can be ascertained and determined, and must also be valuable and lawful based on Islam, and does not incorporate any portion of something labeled as haram. The subject matter must also be mal. Mal in Arabic signifies whatever in effect a man may acquire and possess, which in other means refers to how the subject matter belongs to the seller. This is emphasized by the Prophet ﷺ himself saying, "Do not sell what that is not of yours." Ladies and gentlemen, there is no doubt that e-commerce is one of the most growing, significant business components that will leave an imprint in our next coming business transactions. To sum up, e-commerce has several things that need to be considered in terms of legal buying and selling in Islam. Islam fully supports the modern development of ways to trade, such as online shopping itself. As long as all conditions carried by Islamic law is fulfilled, the use of online shopping is permissible, as it can lead to limitless benefits beyond boundaries for the coming revolution. This electronic medium of shopping consecutively adheres to the values of Islamic buying and selling, hence explaining how online shopping becomes an innovative solution for the inquiries of today's society. With all that I have said, I apologize in advance for my wrong sayings. I wrap up my lecture today with a humble appreciation to everyone. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.